Hello, lovers and friends. Welcome back to another episode of the show. We've got part two with Nicole. If you want to get her whole intro, go check out part one. The episode was so juicy and so good, we wanted to break it down into another part. The first part was all about her superstardom in the professional world. This time, Nicole is getting into an open and unabashed, raw conversation around the love, the sex, the dating, all of more of the personal, juicy stuff that we've been working on in our coaching together, as well as things that she's been uncovering on her own personal journey. Because again, she's her own priestess and her own healer. Woman's got some of her own wisdom and insight to share with you all. So, Nicole, welcome back, honey. Let's get into part two.
Let's get into it. I want to get into all the things that make me cry.
Yes. Yes. Let's get
Into
them
all the vulnerable
tissues.
places, right? Because that's the stuff that's really going to transform. I was like, part one was a lot of very happiness, and that's great. But let's get into the heart. You know what I mean?
Let's
Let's get
do
into
it.
stuff
Let's
that I've
get
been like,
into it. Absolutely. Let's get
yeah.
into it. And so when Nicole came to me, when we started doing this work over 2 years ago, there was a part that felt number one, that there was a wounding around the feminine, like your connection to the feminine, your lack of connection to your mom, the mother daughter wounding that was going on, but also the part of you that didn't feel like you could connect to other women and women's group and intimacy with women. And that also has played a key component to how you've been working with being in the feminine power when it also comes to the masculine and feminine dynamics. Yeah. And so when we really go into conversations about intimacy, and this is one of the most intimate things we can talk about, right? It's like those are the things that do make us cry. It's the part that really we think about, we dream about, we wish about. It's about our love life. It's about our body. It's about some of our childhood and our history. And what I feel like could be really key and crucial is let's go into what has been the relationship you've had with just the feminine energy in general, and even the relationship you've had or haven't had with your mom.
Mhm. Well, if we take it back to the beginning,
Yeah.
my mom had me when she was 21, which means she's pregnant at 20. And at this time in her life, she's trying to figure out her life. I don't even know if she's necessarily in college, she's just working. But my mom wanted to be on the radio. My mom wanted to be a big superstar. Like it's in her.
Oh,
That did not happen, but guess what? Her daughter became all the things that she
oh,
desired to be. And what's so cool about that now, I get that I really am a product of what my mom wanted to bring into her life, but she had a kid and she didn't have the support that
mm,
I got.
yeah.
So I just recently did a mushroom journey with my mom. This was literally about 2 months ago. And one of the things that came up in listening to us, we know we're both in our journey under the
Yeah.
medicine. And she was sharing about how, like when she was growing up, she was my mom and her mother and father, would tell her to shut up or, just be quiet. And, she didn't have an opportunity to articulate how she was feeling or what it is that she wanted to do. Like you need to
Yeah.
just get a job, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I grew up with the complete opposite.
Mm,
So in a way, even though she didn't get those things and it created a lot of struggle for her,
yeah.
she also blessed me into a life
Mm,
where I had a father who was very present, loving, and allowed me to be, do, and have all the things, right?
wow. Yes.
I had never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that was actually an amazing thing you did, mom. Like, you didn't end up with the guy, but you picked the perfect guy to have sex with and make me.
Yes.
Because my dad is awesome. And
Yes.
and I've always known my dad was awesome, but in hearing my mom talk about her dad, I'm like, wow, you gave me the dad you didn't have. That was
Hmm.
huge, yo. You gave
Yes.
me the dad you didn't have. I got about the same mom you had, like in my
Yeah.
mom. Like that didn't, but who I am today is a product of what I didn't get.
Hmm.
I
Oof. Amen.
give,
Yes.
I give what my mom didn't get. I give what my grandmother didn't get. and I now get to give something that I only have because of the tumultuous relationships in our feminine ancestral line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like my grandmother is born in 1929. So, she picked cotton. She had the abusive husband, you know what I mean, from Mississippi. Like that's huge in the
That's
Black
that
culture.
lineage. Yeah. That's a very strong
That's
lineage.
in
Yeah.
everybody's lineage in Black culture, just about.
Yeah.
So then I come up in a time in the 80s where I have two parents that are very much open-minded, free, kind of spirited, both entrepreneurs.
Wow.
My mom always, she always kept a job, but she always had her love for photography and arts and radio and
Yeah.
music, right? So she always was doing things that she loved. I mentioned that in the other interview, like you got to do things that you love still outside of your work. So my
Yeah.
mom did that. And then my dad had his own business, which is an antique stove business. And he's like the number one guy in his business. I was
Wow.
like the number one person in pole. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy when
Yeah.
I look at it now. But and nobody ever had anything to say about me having a pole dancing career. So
Wow.
my mom, had she wanted to do something like that, her mother would have been like, "Nah, you ain't getting on no damn pole." You know what I mean?
Yep.
My parents never said that. So there was never any block
Yeah.
to me becoming who I was supposed to be because nobody was interfering with that. Like even with
Right.
going to school, I didn't finish college. I went to college for 2.5 years, and then I was like, this is not for me. And the only thing that my dad says was, well, you're going to need to get a job or something because I'm not going to take care of you. And if you
Yeah.
want to go back to school, I will help you so that you can go to school. Right. That was it. I was like, I'm cool. I'm going to figure it out. So because of that openness, it allowed me to then pursue things that popped up for me. It originally popped up for me as personal training. And then I did that, fell in love
Right.
with that. I was like, I get to interact with people and help people.
Yeah.
I always wanted to be a psychologist when I was a little kid because of the relationship that I had with my mom. So my mom she was dealing with bipolar, depression when I was growing up, and her ways of being was very erratic and emotional. I remember growing up thinking women are crazy,
Mm,
over emotional because that was how I saw my mom, and always
right.
kind of like on and then very much off in a dark energy. And I, grew up with a lot of abuse. And so my idea of women was how I saw my mom, which is they're not good. And
Mm,
I don't fuck with y'all. So even in me
mm,
up, I always had this idea that all women are crazy and over emotional. And
mm,
I also had an interest in women at the same time. I was attracted to women. But my
mm.
idea of women is that they're crazy and over emotional. So I attracted women just like that until I realized that I was saying it one day. And I was like, oh my God, I keep affirming this. This is why I'm meeting women who are over emotional and a little crazy. And so I had to change
Mm.
the affirmation about what I was saying. And I started saying that I'm meeting women who are emotionally stable.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the know themselves.
Curious about that piece because you're mentioning you would affirm women. I heard you mention like coming from a home that you had a lot of abuse.
Mhm.
Me too. Like I've grown from a home with lots of physical abuse and an alcoholic father and mother who's non-emotionally supported from the Middle East. And so I think it could be like a brown people culture kind of a thing where we've got very chaotic,
Uh-huh.
very erratic, very toxic, like explosive kind of households.
Yes.
Daddy is very much successful. So we've shared like successes in our DNA from our dad's side. My dad is a very successful entrepreneur,
Yeah.
has been, was multimillionaire before he was like in his 30s. It's insane. But mom's side was very like wild, crazy,
Yeah.
crying, kind of basket casey in the beginning, loving and nurturing at times, right? But the household was wild, right? And so we share that in common. And I think it's a very ethnic thing that like it's fucking how it is. It's just what it
Yeah.
is. And like the piece that you're saying that I wanted to also come to was there was a difference for me where I saw that feminine. I had a lot of sisters, but for some reason for me, I didn't judge it and I didn't deter it as like women are crazy and I'm not that.
Mhm.
I used more of like, instead of that, I kind of like leaned into it. So I'm actually curious, just hearing what I'm picking up from you is like, oh, I called it as that, right? I saw her as that. Like, was there a part that also separated, right? It sounds like there was kind of a separation of like, she's crazy, she's there, and I'm over here. Was there any part of you that like separated any of your, even your own identity from like your mom or from like a feminine being as a result of like the, what you saw and like what you identified or believed about women?
I mean, that was the main thing, but I also pushed women away. Like, because again, I didn't have a relation with the first woman you develop a relationship with. I did not have that relationship. Like, I just
Right.
you this last year saying I still don't actually feel comfortable telling my mom I love her. I'm like, there's something
Yeah.
there still. Like, even though I have
Yeah.
all these layers of forgiveness that I've gone through, like I have a great relationship with her now. I was like, I still don't feel the love. There's still some more work to be done.
Yes.
Because we can talk now, like when I tell you so much work, and
Yeah.
it's been me doing the work. My mama didn't need to do no work.
Yeah.
That's one thing too. Some of y'all think y'all mamas need to do the work. No, you need to do some work on how you see your mama because I
Yes.
grew up making her so bad, so wrong, so I hated this woman by the time me and her actually separated, which was when I was 16. My mom decided to move
Mm.
out of state when I was 16. And it was so bad at this time. Like I remember praying, help me get away from this woman. My prayers
Yeah.
came to agreeing. And my mom decided to move out of state. And I remember when she told me I'm moving to Georgia, I was like, there's no way they can get me on a plane with her. I will
Mm.
I will act a fucking fool if she even gets me to the airport, right?
Yeah. Yep.
It will be like, let me help this girl. And when I tell you, I was so grounded in that. I was at 16. I was very clear. I'm not moving out of
Mm.
state with this woman because I felt like it would get worse. Like I felt like somebody gonna kill somebody. You like, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's the state I
Yeah.
was in at that time. That like I really hated my mom just because how she was showing up. So I ended up spending my last 2 years of high school with my grandmother and another cousin who also lived in my house.
Yeah.
And so at 16 through 18, I have no parents. All I have is a grandparent. So I don't have no
Mm.
parents. And I feel like I don't have no parents. Like my dad is
Yeah.
there, but I don't live with my dad. I'm living with my grandmother and I'm seeing my dad and my stepmom together. They're happy. The house is full. I have also another brother and a sister, but again, I'm not in that environment. So it
Yeah.
also feels like, how come I'm not over there? But I don't know. Like I'm 16. I don't know why I'm not over there. I don't even know if that was presented at the time. I'm just like, I'm standing with my grandmother. Okay, that's what it is. So
Right.
there was a part of
Right.
me
And
that
I'm sure
felt
there's a part that like seeing that it's like, where's the parents? We all want to belong somewhere.
yeah, so I didn't feel like I belonged. Like I very much felt like I was by myself, but
Yeah.
also felt grown, like alone. Also, like it created a lot of independence within myself, right? Where I didn't need to necessarily be dependent on anybody.
Yeah, and that independence usually makes us armor up and shield up. I know, again, like growing up in my household, I think you know some of my story, but I was separated from my parents when I was at the end of fifth grade, and I was in orphanage. I had to go in an orphanage because my mom had been almost strangled to death by my father during their divorce, which was like the messiest divorce in all of LA, and made it onto the LA Times next to OJ Simpson. Like it was like local celebrity news, but I was in and out of from the orphanage into foster cares. And so from fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade into almost eighth grade, I didn't have any parents and I was being shuffled around the foster care system and was with all these different families, living in the projects, living in Compton, living in Inglewood, living in Lancaster, going to so many different schools, never making any friends and not being really in touch with my parents. And I just say that because it was like, for me, prayer was what really got me through the times of like crying and feeling alone and feeling really separated and having to then be like the strong one for my two younger sisters that was with me in that journey and really looking up for me. And it was that prayer of like, please return us home, please return us home, but definitely not having role model parents. And like you said, when my dad came back and we still couldn't really live with him. And so there was a lot of like when I say like I'm understanding, I'm just giving context of like I understand what it's like to then feel on your own and then go through your adults and early 20s armored up of like, fuck, it's me and me. I'm independent. I better put my warrior priestess gear on and like suck it up and toughen it up and can't show any kind of emotion except for rage or anger so people don't come and fuck with me, right? So it's like,
do, yeah. And as you say that, like I think I just said this to you the other day, like I didn't realize I was going through life so hard because I always felt a very lightness and funness and energetic to me. I remember working at a gym and I was Muslim at the time. I was Muslim for like 6 years. And so, I'd be wearing my scarf and stuff and being
oh
my
my God, I did not know that about you at all.
yes,
Wow.
that was another thing. I became Muslim
Yeah.
praying to God, like, hey, if you get me out of this situation, I'll believe, right? So
Right.
Muslim I was because I took Shahada and then I was Muslim. And 2 weeks later, I was out of another crazy situation at the age of
Wow.
18. But there was a moment, I started reading Conversations with God.
Ooh, yes.
A friend of mine told me to get this book. And there was a friend of mine who I was like, we used to call him one of my mentors. He's like, I want you to get this book. And I never read the book because it had the word God in it. And I still didn't believe in a God. You know what I mean? So that book sat on my bookshelf for 2 years. And then one
Wow.
day in 2004, I picked it up. I don't know why. I can't even remember why I picked that book up then. I don't know where my mind was. But a light bulb turned on. That book opened and unlocked something to where literally the light came in. I
Mm-hmm.
in my apartment, I didn't used to open the blinds. I didn't think
Wow.
about it.
Yeah.
I started opening the blinds and letting light in. So literally light was coming in physically and spiritually. And I remember showing up at the gym, people literally started saying, something looks different about you. I was
Mm.
hearing that on a daily basis as my mind was opening, my energy was opening up. People were literally like, you look different, like you look like you're like something shifted about, like you look lighter. And I was like, how was I not light before? You know what I
Oh
mean?
my
Like
God. Yeah. Yeah. And where was your mom at this time?
since I was 16, she has been out of state.
But like your relationship wise, what was it at that time?
Oh, at this time, we talk on the phone, but just every once in a while. We don't
Okay.
we don't
Yeah.
talk often. It probably wasn't until after, it wasn't until this time to where that relationship started changing. I started going to Agape. I started reading other books on spirituality and metaphysical studies. I did a forgiveness program at
Yes.
Agape. So the programs I was actually doing at Agape was helping me to heal my relationship with my mom. I went
Yeah.
to Landmark. That helped shift some more stuff with my mom. Like
Yes.
doing all these things for myself. And then I would go back and talk to my mom, share what came up for me, and be trying to release stuff in ways that I had saw her based on the things that I was learning. So that was helping me shift my relationship with my mom. But this whole time, up until just me doing this mushroom journey with my mom, I
Yeah.
was still calling her a bad mother
Mm.
even today, right? I was still like, even
Right.
so 2 months ago, and I realized that. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
even when I talk about her, I always say, yeah, my mom was a bad mom. She wasn't a good mother, da 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 da. And I'm just like, that don't
Mm.
actually make sense. I was only with her till 16. So how's she still gonna be a bad mom when I don't even live with her no more? I was like, the
Mm.
stuff that I've been making her, she ain't been that since 16. So why am I
Right.
still making her this evil villain? You know what I mean?
Right. Blaming. Like it's like that crystallized
Yeah.
blame and that
And
identity.
then realizing that when you do that to a person, your parents, you actually keep them stuck in that paradigm. Like, you
100%.
can't even
Yes.
show up differently. It doesn't matter what my mom does. She shows me all the love now, right? She's been doing that since we started visiting. Like, cook for
Yes.
me, do whatever, photo shoots, like all the things. But if I still see her as she was this bad mom, I can't even allow myself to love her because they can't hold the same space. Like you can't be bad mom and good mom at the same time. I
Yeah.
can't love you. I can't even fathom saying I love you if I'm still judging you so hard. And then I'd be wondering, like, why can't I say I love you? Because I'm still judging her so hard. Like, why you ain't got
Well,
your
and
sister?
below the judgment, right? They're the unresolved issues, right? Because the judgment, again, if you look at it from the hierarchy of emotions, it's like there's a judgment, which means there's the anger. But unless you deal with the judgment and the anger, you're not going to be able to get to the another layer down, which is the sadness, the grief, the despair. And then from there, only when you really, really honor, appreciate, and feel those deep feelings can you then come back to the love, right? And that's what we really all want to do. But, there's something that Tony Robbins talks about, a process that I learned, which is called effective blaming. And until we effectively blame our parents are always going to have power and control over us based on the stories that we're hooked into with them, right? So for you, it's like you were blaming your mom for all the bad things she did for you, right? She was hooked in, you were hooked into that story, the right and wrong, and that she was a bad mom, right? And all the stories around the feminine associated was like you were hooked into that. And so until you also could effectively blame her for all the good, really blame her for the good stuff that she brought for you, the lessons, your spirit, the creativity, the artistry, like really effectively blame her for everything.
Part.
That's where the liberation comes in, right? That's where we become liberated.
When I did this program at MITT, and we did this meditative exercise where they had you look at both your parents, see how you were just like them in the negative ways, see how you're just like them in the positive ways.
Oh my God, yes.
And so as they're doing that, I see, and then like, especially looking at the ways in which you're just like your parents that you don't like. And I was like, oh,
yeah.
And then seeing all the good things that I got from my mom. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm dope. I'm a good person.
Yes.
And then, oh, I actually do what I do because of the things that were difficult and hard. Like I wouldn't want to help people if I didn't go through the troubling life with my mother. Like that's the reason I want to work with shift how they think and see and help kids. So in that sense, I'm going, well, damn, she did a great job preparing me for who I was supposed to be. That's just so once I changed the perspective on that, it helped me to see my mom differently. Like she was literally being all that she knew. Like even hearing her talk about her, like we got to understand our parents are us. So all the all the stuff that you don't like and you hate, like there's your child who looking at you with as stuff, or even if you don't have children, there's other people looking at you the same way that you look at your parents in a way. There's parts of you that are mirroring, because if you're still holding on to it and judging them, I can promise you, you're mirroring it in a certain type of way. You
Oh,
don't
absolutely.
you don't see it because you in yourself, and maybe some people ain't told you. But if you're holding on that same judgment that I had about my mom, like even her, how mean she would show up, I was showing up that same way. And with women, I was showing up the very way I didn't like about my mom. I was showing up that way with women, being dismissive, not caring about their feelings and stuff because they're crazy and over emotional. You know what I mean? So the judged her was how I was showing up.
Well, I want to just say a point for that, right? Well, we have these mirror neurons. So it's like what you're saying is true, not just from a spiritual perspective, but from an actual like brain psychological perspective, right? We have the mirror neurons. So we're literally mirroring, right? And speaking to the other. So anything we're thinking, we're projecting and we're putting them onto the mirror, and they're acting out as that through what we're doing with our brain. So there's also that piece, and that really important piece to understand that, like, oh, wow, it's my projections, like putting it onto the glass that's creating the reflection back to the things that I'm thinking, back to the things that I'm seeing about her, about anyone in general, right? So understanding that our brain is also very much involved in the activity, not just from the spiritual perspective. And from what you're saying as well, I want to just highlight for those that may be familiar or may not, what you're talking about is you did a mushroom ceremony, which is a psychedelic. And so it's a plant medicine, which is has a psychedelic properties. And so the benefit of doing something like plant medicine ceremonies, right? Whether you do it solo, which again, I don't advise. I advise that you get a guide. I've been guiding for over a decade, but you work with someone, seek support. And with your guide, they help you get to a place where you break through the veil of your normal mental thinking pattern so that you can elevate yourself into a higher dimension of consciousness, a more pure place of consciousness where you can see things from what we call more of a meta perspective, a higher perspective, above the noise, above the clouds, to take in more of the bigger picture of the information versus the picture that you continuously replay in your mind over and over again. So it's a really powerful tool, used very intentionally, with intention, with a guide, right, with a proper sacred space to use as a healing modality. And psychedelics have been used in therapy treatments to help relationships, to help heal through PTSD or complex PTSD, as well as trauma, and to be able to help us tap more into our authentic self, our natural self, beyond the shame, the guilt, the blame, the normal stories that the ego wants to create that are generally crystallized and solidified in our consciousness, in our psyche. And so it helps us recode ourselves with higher frequency thoughts, feelings, and energies. So just wanting to highlight that for anyone who's listening. And, you know, it's not just, oh my God, wow, it's you, Nicole's been doing a lot of work. And I want to highlight that. Like, it's been years of work. And she's mentioned a variety of different modalities that she's done before the psychedelics to create that framework that allowed her to be able to go deeper with the use of a psychedelic substance.
Yes, that's important. Like, I didn't just jump to that. So I think had I probably done the mushroom journey 15 years ago, I wouldn't have got to where I got to just 2 months ago, right? Because I had so much
Correct.
opening and space of things that I had
Yes.
already
And that's
moved
what I really
through.
wanted to, yeah, highlight to anyone who's listening to not get a misinterpretation. But because you had that insight, you had been primed, right? You've been primed. The work we had been doing primed you. The work you've done previous before me had primed you to go in with that kind of intention, and then to have that ceremony that you've done, and then have the ceremony with your mom also. It's like that was such a deep healing. I can really hear that from you, and how that really like blew your mind open to beyond the field of that right or wrong, but to actually like having the deeper compassion and the deeper understanding of your parents are exactly who they are to make you exactly who you are through the lessons and the learnings, even though the trials and tribulations were fucking uncomfortable and challenging.
Yes, everybody got some fucked up and uncomfortable shit. And
Yep.
my shit was fucked up, right? My mom's, then your mother's, is 10 times worse usually.
Yep.
So I realized I had had no sympathy or compassion for my mother this entire time.
Mm,
But I've been wanting her to have that for me. I was
right.
wanting her to have that for me. And then I'm like, why can't she give it? And then in that moment in the ceremony, I'm like, she's never gotten it. And how
Right.
unfair, how fucking unfair, like
Mm.
literally, like it make how unfair for
Yeah.
me to never have even been interested enough to see what happened to her to make her show up the way she did. Because nobody's just showing up that way out of full ass love.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
so in that, I was like, man, she showed up literally the best she could based on the data, the information, the programming. And then I showed up even better because of what she wanted for her daughter.
Yeah.
My mom has read all these metaphysical books that I've read, and I always used to be like, well, how come you ain't changed? I changed. I was different because of how she showed up. So even the books that she read, even though I had already been birthed by her, that energy literally was still passed down into me because my mom was trying to heal in her own way. So
Yes.
in her energy of trying to heal, even though I didn't see it, I feel like that was being passed to me so that
Yes.
I could be the version of who I am today that is even more healed, but then now
Yes.
helping her too in her healing journey. Like,
Yes.
and so I feel like the last time we talked, she was like, I love you. I was like, I said it. And I was like, oh my
Mm.
God, I didn't feel no resistance this time. I was like, I love you too. Bye.
I mean, that's literally the definition of a miracle.
Right. Because I was able to finally feel and see her pain,
Yes.
which I never wanted to look at because nobody saw my pain. She didn't see my pain. So a lot of us are
Yes.
fighting with our parents to get something that they don't even have. And so
Yes.
you can't get something out of something that it's not there, right? So it's like if you can give up being so angry at your parent, you can actually help them heal. I told my mom I'm sorry first.
Yes.
And I was
Yes.
like,
Yes.
maybe in my early 30s, I finally apologized because it was after doing Landmark. I was like, oh, I realized that I've been judging you and holding my foot on your neck as this bad person when you haven't even been that. You
You,
stopped being that when you left. I was
yeah.
like, holy shit. I was
Well, you're
like,
saying
I'm holding
something
her neck.
too. Yeah, you're saying something really important because I want to just make sure to pull that thread a little bit, which is like, again, intellectually, you did all this work. You read all these metaphysical books, right? And we can read so many things on social media, online, so many things, but the real healing comes from an integrated approach when we're willing to unfreeze our own feminine, when we're willing to unfreeze our own feeling. Like we said, we went through hard as fuck, tough as fuck. It's like, yeah, like we went to the school of hard knocks for sure. And right, that's why we can become such better teachers and leaders, why we can become such a safe space and a healing space by our beingness. But it requires what you're saying is taking it from the philosophy and the intellect and learning and absorbing the tools to what I really believe was a game changer for you, Nicole, was going and having the courage and the willingness to feel the unfelt feelings and actually unfreeze the emotions and the heart so you could feel what was blocking. So you could feel not just the intellect, but integrate that into the heart that would be blossoming, opening, into the heart that could feel the uncomfortable emotions, right? The vulnerability, the sensitivity, but also the love that's always been there.
That part. So I've got to share this. So in the
Yeah.
mushroom journey, one of the facilitators, like I was up, I was moving around, and then she brought me down. Like she brought me down to the floor, and she was sitting behind me, and she just had her arms around me, and I kind of just like laid into her, right? And as I'm laying there, I'm like, wow, it feels really nice to just being held by another woman, right? And it not be sexual.
Yeah.
And so as I'm sitting there, I'm laying like in her bosom, kind of. Spirit goes, go do this with your mom. And I'm like, what?
Goosebumps.
And I remember feeling, I froze in that moment. I'm like, what? Like, go lay on my mom. I've never done that. Okay. I'm 43 and I ain't never laid up on my mother, except
Oh,
from when I was like 1 to 3, like a baby. Okay. And so I'm like, spirit goes again, go do this with your mom. Like, it's literally a thought that I hear so loud, right?
yeah, deep
That ain't
intuition.
me. I'm like, that ain't me because I wouldn't think that, right? So in that moment, I had to make a decision to be in action with the thing that felt uncomfortable for me. And before I went into this journey, I was like, there's going to be a moment. I was like, there's going to be a moment where somebody gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to do something that I've
Yeah.
never done, even though it feels uncomfortable. And I
Yeah.
could feel that that was the very thing. I was like, at this point, my mother has shown all the love. She shows up great now. Like, I'm not feeling any type of way about her. I was like, I feel like it's me being resistant to loving,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
we said twice, go do this with your mom. And so my mom is laying down. She don't even know what's happening with me, right? Her eyes is closed. I'm journeying out loud. She in her own little thing, right? And so I go over and I like get my arm up under her and then I literally lay on her bosom. Okay.
Wow.
When I tell you, I felt like a little, I felt like a cub because when you're on your mushroom journey, like everything is amplified. So
Amplified.
when I
Yes.
laid on her, it was almost like I could see the cellular activity of the mother and child coming back together. Okay. And I could
Yes.
hear her heartbeat as if I was in her body. I've
Oof.
never heard a heartbeat that close.
Yeah.
So as I'm laying there, I'm going, something's happening right now. And then I could feel myself wanting to think. And I was like, just lay. You know,
Yes.
how long do I lay? And
That's
I was
it.
like, just
Integrate it.
be.
Yes.
I was like, just be, Nicole. I started thinking
Yes.
in my head, like, how long do I do this for?
Yes.
And I just continued to lay. And I just told myself something's happening. I don't know what,
Yes.
something's happening. And I just embraced that moment of, I was like, I feel like this is a reconnection for us, right? So I
Yes.
laid into that. I probably stayed for like 10 minutes, even though it felt uncomfortable at first.
Yes.
And finally, and guess what? When after the ceremony, my mom didn't even know it was me there laying on her at first. Because her eyes was closed still. She thought one of the other facilitators was trying to help her through the journey. But that happened. And that happened through me being in action through my resistance.
Yes.
So realizing like it's not going to necessarily feel all sparkly and easy.
And cozy and yummy in the
Yeah.
beginning.
I
No.
just gotta move. It's like, remember we talking about doing a pole trick? It's gonna feel a little weird at first.
Yep.
It's gonna be a little scary. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I still just had to do it because that's what I was being told. So it's again listening to spirit. I like listening to that inner voice that you know is your higher self or it's God, whatever
Yes.
you want to call it.
Yes.
Like I listen to that. And so, and when I move in that, I know things shift. So I moved in that. And I feel like that happened because just prior to that moment, I had told my mother, I had went to the bathroom and I got a download and I was like, oh my God, I got to release calling my mom a bad mom. And I came to
Yes.
the bathroom and I was like, we turned toward each other. And I was like, I am denouncing the idea that you were a bad mom,
Mm.
great mom.
Whew.
Like, even though it didn't feel good, you were a great mom because I turned out great.
Yes.
And so I'm letting you know now that you're not a bad mother. I'm sorry
Mm.
for calling you that. And like you were a great mom. And she
Yeah.
just said, thank you. I've been wanting to hear that. And then this is what else I learned in that moment. So in my mind, I'm going, I still don't feel like she's receiving it. Because the ladies
Yeah.
asking, they're like, Nicole, how do you feel right now? And I was like, I just feel like she's still not like really taking it in. And they were like, well, maybe you're projecting. And I said, oh,
Yeah.
because
Exactly.
I
And
was.
deflecting and
Because I
deflecting.
was. Because again, I was expecting her to feel that and receive that. So again, when you're still trying to decide how someone else feels about a thing, like wanting her to be more emotionally attached to that, you know what I mean?
It was
No, that's not
expectations. Yeah, the expectation kills it. And
kills
then
it,
that's when we
right?
deflect it, just like
Yeah,
anything, whether it's love, relationship, sex, or anything. Like if
anything.
we're having an expectation, we're not open to the invitation of the moment. And then something like that is a pattern, which you've seen your mom do, or was you, was like deflecting the love, right? Redirecting it. It needs to be a certain way, to be received a certain way in order for it to happen, which means then that healing really isn't about the healing. It's really about what you want to get out of it, which is false egoic healing. It's not real healing. And this is about what you're saying is really leaning into the journey of embracing the feminine within, but the feminine without through the form of your mom. And that is not going to be cozy in your own skin in the beginning when it's unfamiliar, but it is natural once you start to lean in and move past your own resistance and start to soften and open. It feels like the most natural thing because it is the most natural thing in the world. But once we move past our own resistance and our own limitations, and again, the stories that we're projecting or the stories that we're wanting, hoping, secretly having these expectations of how it will go, we're going to be disappointed and we're not going to be able to really receive the gift of intimacy that comes in that moment, because those are very intimate moments. They don't have to be sexually intimate, but even this conversation we're letting people into is a very intimate conversation. It's very real. And
Yeah.
that's what intimacy is about. It's letting yourself be seen into. And so I've seen many clients where they're in a moment like that and it's like, wow, the intimacy that's created. And then there can be a moment where we choose to kind of, again, opt out and go into our mind where it's like, oh, I just was so vulnerable and innocent. And then they thanked me. Where do I go now? Right. Because it's just like, what's going to happen next? Right. So then the safe coping mechanism is to go into the mind. Oh, well, it's not happening the way I want it. Oh, it's got to be like this, right? It's got to be like that. It's like this coping disassociation and deflection. But we can again recognize, oh, that's just again, right? A neural pathway I've done over the years in this relationship over and over again to protect myself from vulnerability and intimacy. Then you take that power back and you learn to sit in your seat of uncomfortability because that's your queen's throne, your queen seat, where all the magic really happens. And the healing can take place again from a very integrated approach, not just a kind of holistic or spiritual, right? Or mindset or intellectual. It's really integrating all aspects, all facets, all parts of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Mentally, emotionally, kinesthetically, spiritually, all of those pieces. And like what you're speaking to, I know that so many audience members and community members can probably relate to, because it's like the relationship we have with our parents is they're really our greatest teachers. They're our masters, whether we want to admit it or not. They're our masters. We've chosen them for exactly the sole reason
Oh,
that we
damn.
need.
I feel like if we could all start looking at it like that, like I feel like even the people I did the ceremony with, they were like, this is definitely part of your calling to help people with their
Yeah.
relationship with their parents. Because again, as a child, I said this, I want to help parents be better parents to their kids, and I want kids to be able to understand how to process what their parents like are doing, right? So again, I end up living this life to where
Yes.
I actually started doing the work, and I actually then start trying to break down and heal these thought patterns around my mother, and then seeing it and then meeting other people who are dealing with the same shit and then going, oh,
Almost everybody has it. I mean,
that's right.
literally, we
Everybody
all
got
have
something.
parents. We all have some parents, whether they're present parents or absent parents, or,
Yeah.
a story of a gone parent or an amazing parent that really loved us. But again, it's like there's all something. And I know only one person in the whole world, in my world, that I know one person who said they had really amazing parents. Both parents
I
were
know
so
one person
amazing
too.
and supportive. And I'm like, bless you, girl. Right. But again, she has her own challenges. It's not with her
Yeah,
parents, right? Her parents
exactly.
support her, but then that's her
Right.
own challenge with like in a relationship where she's just assuming her partner would be dotting over her like her parents are, right? Or she will bend over backwards to try to get their love. So it still manifests in a variety of different ways, right? So nothing is better or worse.
Yeah.
They're all still our teachers, and they're our teachers for, first of all, the way we're relating to ourselves, our own identity, our authority figures. And then also, it's really a prime training ground for our own identity, our higher self identity, as well as our relationship dynamics.
Yeah. It's
Relationship
not how you're
dynamics.
going to be or how you're not going to be. Like I learned based on my parents how I'm going to be. I want to be like this, or I don't want to be like this, or I'm going to do better than this. Like that's how you start creating all these lanes of who you become. And a lot of the stuff that you say, I ain't going to be like them, you end up becoming something that's maybe a little worse or the same until you start to get up out of the trying to be what they aren't thing. It's like you just got to be who you were called to be and understand that your parents are just like you. They're people. Let's stop trying to make them. I don't know if that comes from TV, but like the idea that your parents are supposed to be great, that's so unrealistic because that's like saying it's
Yes.
supposed to be so great and perfect. So
I
it's like,
mean, it's like we pedestalize them as like they're
stop
supposed to
doing
be like
that, people.
our gods, and it's
Yeah.
it's
They're
it's
normal
very
fucking people.
unrealistic. And I mean, I don't really know anybody whose perspective is that, but to pull the thread of what you're saying is like from an evolutionary standpoint, the quicker we can own the fact that we are a product of our parents, the quicker we can actually evolve. Hello. The fact
Hello.
that you're like, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm not that, I'm trying to be opposite, opposite. Own who the fuck you actually are. Own that my dad had a temper. I have a temper. I'm
Uh-huh.
evolving it, but if I pretend like I don't and put on a fake smile and be
Mhm.
positive, it's like, no, my temper is what's also made me a phenomenal leader and like a source of power. But because I've evolved it,
Mhm.
right? So the more that we're pretending or rejecting any part of ourself, any emotion, rejecting, repressing, shaming, blaming is only delaying the
Yeah,
evolution that's being asked of us. So
that
the
part.
quicker we can be real, right? The quicker we can
Yeah.
be real and own our shit, own our side of the street, right? The better we can be in a relationship, the better we can be in the relationship with the person that we see in the mirror, that we can be in a better relationship with people that we attract instead of judging and blaming them, right? When it comes to dating and relating, we're like, oh, you know what? You're again a reflection for me to see where I can still get better as a human. I'm not making you bad because you're not the cup of tea that I want, but thank you for showing me where I can get better as a base mark of how I can refine my energy, my emotions, my ask for what it is that I truly, do want. And it then comes into like for me, and I'm curious for you and for the listeners as well, is like for me, it was really a journey to restoring my feminine essence and my core, not even the way that I would see in media or magazines, because growing up here, nobody looked like me in Los Angeles. It's like I didn't really fit in or belong with the Persians or the Blacks or the Armenians or the Persians and the Americans. Like, I didn't feel like I really belonged. There wasn't like a reflection of like feminine beauty. And so for me, it was just restoring the feminine qualities that I did love about my mom, that I saw that I loved, of how she would adorn herself in body oil. She had amazing self-care routines. She wore beautiful, like fucking mob boss wife, like fur coats and big platforms and lipstick and like natural beauty. And like those were qualities that I saw, that I remember as a kid, that I was like, how can I start to tap into those things, right? And bring that in. And that was like the very beginning before I got into like the sacred sexuality work and like all the deeper work. It was like really extracting the good parts or the inspiring parts of the feminine that I could see were reflected in my mom. But it was really choosing. It was a choice to restore my connection to my femininity and then redefining what that means for me. Same for you?
Yeah, like I still to this day I pull from my mother's arsenal of like how would my mother be in this situation? You know, like she's good, but she's got that good mouthpiece on her. Like she can get in and move through anywhere. And I'm just like, how can I be my mom? Like, what would my mother do? And that helps, that energy thing. Like my mom just had that. She had this energy to where she could just talk to somebody and get somewhere and get into a place and all of that. And then just like her creativity, like there's so much good stuff to pull from her. And then the
Yeah.
things that like I don't like she's bossy. I'm like, I'm bossy too. But then
Yeah.
seeing how I don't like her bossiness, I get to adjust my bossiness.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
I get to tell people around me, hey, let me know when my tone is getting a little reactive. Because all you gotta do
Uh-huh.
is, like I have a key word. I tell my say tone. Check my tone. Because I can check
Yep.
it. Just catch me. Don't let me keep
100%.
going.
It's
Don't
like
let me
those
keep
little,
going.
what were those? Those little cartoons that was like Little Miss Bossy, Little Miss Sunshine, Little Miss,
Uh-huh.
like back in the days. I was
Yeah.
always Little Miss Bossy. Do this, go there, do that. I want that. Like, so it's like it is a work in
Yeah.
progress. And now that you've integrated more and more of your medicine's journey, the work, the teaching, the coaching, the conversations with your mom, how has that help empower you as your own identity as a woman and what you're calling in for your life now as a result of doing all this feminine empowerment work?
It's creating this desire to help more women, right? And to share and again, create perspective shifts for people. It's the reason I want to do my group coaching programs. Like I want to get these types of things out to people in a way. Like it's like you may not even know you're coming for it, but I got this too that I've gone through. You right? So it's like to share all these experiences. The fun in doing the work for me and wanting to heal is so that I can help somebody else. The quicker I heal, the quicker I can help somebody else. You know what I mean? So that's
Yes.
why I love doing the work or the play of getting better and improving upon myself.
I'm going to ask you to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to ask you to like, because we're here, take a big, yeah, relax in your chair, take a big breath. And from a different place, from your womb space. From your womb space. I want you to, yeah, exactly. I want you to feel into that deliciousness. Not even about serving other people, not even about doing your work, which is amazing. We all love that, right? But first and foremost, all of this is for us to grow and evolve as a soul, as an individual. And you chose to reincarnate in this lifetime with a feminine body, with a feminine core and a feminine essence. And when I come to ask that question once again of how has this ancestral and feminine healing helped empower and liberate you as a feminine, identified, unabashed woman in your life? How is this benefiting the ripples in all areas of your life? And answer from your womb, answer from your sex, answer from your heart. You can even keep your eyes closed if you want.
it's helping me to feel like the goddess that I've been asking to feel like. So feeling how powerful I really am and like really honoring myself, valuing myself. Like it's helping me to do all of those things and not trying to get it from outside of myself, but really like just embracing myself and who I am, accepting myself, the light and the dark. The dark.
Yes.
I was trying to
Yes.
shy away from the dark. I don't want to be the dark, but like,
Breathe that in.
or I
Yes.
embrace the shadow sides of myself, the more I can love myself. Because if I'm not loving that, then I'm not fully loving myself. So in
Yes.
this work and acknowledging all the parts that I want to improve upon, but also the parts that are not even there yet. Like I still get to love on that. And so that feels powerful. And then I'm learning that that's okay. Like I thought there was something bad about the shadow parts and I got to get rid of that. But no, all of that's good.
Yes. All of
So
that's God.
all of me is good always.
Yes.
All of me is good
Yes.
always. And then the more that I really take that in and breathe that, speak it, feel
Mhm.
it, and also have compassion and grace for me, like the more powerful I stand up and I feel that goddess, like I feel
Yes.
the superstar in me. So yeah.
Oh, whew. And how, with living and breathing and perceiving yourself through that lens, revolutionize your life, revolutionize your love life, your sex life, your money and your business if you showed up like a goddess, as the goddess.
Everything becomes amplified. You so like literally the greater I feel for myself, I only accept and receive greatness. So as I improve upon myself and how I see myself, like there's just again the energy I receive has to come up, or it's not even the energy's coming up. Oh, that energy's there. It's like I'm coming up to where I want to
Mm,
be. Like that's literally what it's
yes.
happening. I'm moving up into the frequency that I'm now seeing available for myself. Like
Yes.
I wrote down the last 2 years, like I want to feel the goddess within me.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
because I stated that, all these things start happening in my life to help me move into that space. So it looks like great things. And then it also looks like seeing the shadows, right? Because you got to work through the shadows to be the full scope of yourself. So yeah, my worthiness is
Preach,
up
sister.
on another
Preach.
level, right? Like
Preach. Yes.
in what I'm standing for, what my intention is. Like I'm dating with an intention for a life partner. So which means I ain't wasting my time with nobody. I ain't just
Mm-mm.
seeing people just to see people. Like I just met a guy. We were dating for 7 weeks. It was amazing. I was receiving all the things I said I wanted to receive. Okay.
Okay. Yes, you were.
And
Yes, you
it is
were.
my person. But because I am sitting in my goddess seat, right? I can see when it no longer aligns and then honor
Yes.
that and not try to make it something it ain't. What
Mm-hmm.
my past self would have done. And I was like, oh, that's growth. I can release this and be unattached and still be grateful for the good time that I got. Okay. It
Okay.
all goes up
Yes.
from here. So, like, when I talk to you about that situation, I was really so grateful for the time that I had. Like, I wasn't mad, like, oh, I wasted my time. I enjoyed my
Yes.
time.
Right.
I
That's right.
enjoyed my time because I got to see that I could be treated the way that I had been treating myself and
That's
asking.
right.
And
That's right.
I had received great guys. Like I've always attracted great guys, but I still was always playing small as to what I could
That's right.
receive.
That's right.
And
Yes.
I've been working with you to up the imagery of what I see possible for myself. And
Yes.
that's it's crazy like that. I don't know why that makes me want to cry, but to know
Yes.
that I've been playing small in that area, it's like, oh my God. Like, and again, I only know what I know. So what I've always saw possible is just like what I see possible maybe in my dad. I ain't never
Mm.
necessarily seen anything outside of that. So I always wonder, like, how could I not value myself more? But I only know what I saw the women around me value, you know what I mean? And what they receive. So that's my like my barometer kind of. And it's
Yeah.
me now doing the work to burst out of that. And know that
Yes.
I'm not asking for too much. I'm just asking for what I desire. And we all get to do that.
Yes. Yes.
Because you don't have an example of it, doesn't mean it's not possible.
100%. 100%. You are bashing out of those limitations, and
Yeah.
you've been doing an amazing job. And we only know what we know until we start to research other people that we can start to model that will show us what we know we don't know. And when we
Yeah.
start to focus on what we know we don't know, like you did, that's where the magic starts to happen. Because if you keep focusing on, I know what I know, and that's what I know, you're never going to go anywhere. You don't grow. But
Yeah.
if you go where you're not and you start to reach out for people that you see are playing at a higher level and a bigger layer in these arenas like love and sex and relationship, as well as business, but this was specifically around our worth as women in relationship, because we can be super successful in business and have a huge bank account or huge following and whatever. But I will tell you, right? You are doing it right, Nicole, because I've coached so many women and other celebrities who have it all, and on the inside feel dead, feel so tired, feel so drabby, can't even enjoy looking at themselves in the mirror, are still attached to the men and suffering and creating stories. It's like, that's all that I know. And I don't believe it. It's like the limitations that it comes to when it comes to love and when it comes to our belief in our worthiness as women of what we can ask for and what we can receive. Man, oh man, do women still have a lot of growing to do in
Yeah.
that area. And again, honoring you and really celebrating you for asking for more, for seeking for more, for being a student of life and a student of mind, and allowing me as a trusted source to help illuminate and blow the roof off of any of the limitations so that you could do the work to soar. Because in the end,
Yeah.
it still is you doing it, right? I can just give you some of the designs and the blueprints and I can help you bust the roof off of it, right? But really acknowledging and celebrating, like, you show up for the work, you push the boundaries, you do the practices, you use dating as a lab and a dojo to experiment and know yourself and realize, wow, I can still grow in that area. Oh, wow, I'm still
Mhm.
not claiming it here. I might have claimed it when I was on tour with Snoop Dogg to claim that amount of money, but whoa, I'm having a hard time claiming what I want in love and relationship. Like,
Yeah.
there's an incongruency here around being a really empowered woman and living like a goddess in all areas of her life. So it's like, let's activate those parts, right? And I feel very privileged and very honored to work with you and all the women that I work with, because, well, and some of the couples that I work with, because, like, you have your gifts. I really have a superpower for knowing, like a beacon device, like where that person is turned off, and like just very gently, nudgely going in there and like nudging it till it like
Yeah.
turns on, right? It's like I can find that spot
Take
and
it
I'm
up.
like, hey, girl. Yep. Hey, girl, come on out. Let's go. And it's happening. Boom.
Mhm.
And right. And you've done a really amazing job of that. And anchoring this even further for you, it's like the things that I've seen you move through these relational dynamics has been really beautiful, because I just see you becoming stronger and stronger in your identity of worth, right? Walking through the world, right, with the highest frequencies of self-worth and confidence. And
Yeah.
that's really a testament to all the work that's been going on, beauty.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm gonna thank myself
Uh-huh.
for again investing in myself to play bigger and to I feel like I really made a choice to go, okay, I'm doing great in some other areas, but that's not it. Let me work in this area and do it, put the same attention that I would to get better at something else. You know what I mean? Like put some
Yeah.
time into it, knowing that I need some assistance. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
all get to do that for ourselves. And that to me is more valuable than saving up for a house, for getting a car, for buying a purse. Like none of that is going to have you be fulfilled on a daily basis. It's just
That's
not.
right. That's right.
And
That is right.
and I'm glad that I'm so I have an attachment to wanting to be in a nice house and, have my relationship, but I'm also unattached to where it's like, that's not the most important thing to me. Like, I want to heal whatever it is here that's having me deny
Mm-hmm.
what I have for myself. Because that's really what it is. It's denying my abundance. Like,
Mm-hmm.
once I realized it, like, oh, I'm denying. Like, it ain't. And then to keep looking for something that you want, but you don't realize you're blocking yourself from receiving it, right? So it's like,
Right. You're blocking the blessing. You're
I'm saying
blocking
I want this thing
the
and it ain't
blessing.
coming. It might be me. It might be
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
So it
That's
don't matter
right.
what app you
That's
get
right.
on. It don't matter what you buy for yourself. It don't matter what clothes and perfume you put on because that's just the outside. Like you gotta go play with the inside. You know what I mean? So I
Yep.
thank myself for playing with the inside.
Yes, yes. And that's what's going to manifest on the outside. It's
That's
really
what's
an
gonna manifest on
inside
the
game.
outside.
The
Yeah.
riches you feel inside, that richness, that abundance, it has to, by law, manifest on the outside. It's just a matter of the time of
Yeah.
when and the
Yeah.
accelerated, but it's law, like it's quantum physics, it's law. It has to manifest. So as above, so without, as above, so within, it's all the same. So when you do the focus, instead of buying the bag and the clothes and the shoes and the wardrobe, it's like put all that into you, into really, again, aligning with that ideal partnership, creating it, aligning it, being a match for it, clearing out any debris that's out the way for it. And then again, being in the dojo where you can taste all the different flavors of men and lovers and friends and get a better ideal of it. So it's in your nervous system. And
Yes.
that's what starts to shift it because then your nervous system changes. And when your nervous system changes, your thoughts change, your emotion changes, your magnetism changes. Then you get another layer where you can refine and define, refine and define. And
And
now you're at a
define.
point, yeah, refine and define. And now you're refining and now you're defining, right? That you are that luxury, that you are that value, that you do deserve that you're worthy of it. And now it's not a matter of an attachment, it's a level of raising your standard. Now you're raising your standard. You're at a standard now at a woman of worth. You're at a standard at someone who's playing at a high level of life and doesn't actually entertain anyone or anything less. Now that type of mindset is what's going to attract and show up the outer reflection. Hence, when then the big beautiful home comes in, then comes in the big beautiful man comes in, then comes in soon the beautiful rings coming in. It's like it's all coming in, right? But it's because it's the standard, and it's because we're at a standard where we're not demanding. And I say this to you all the time in the coaching, right? It's like the queen's code of the goddess. We don't demand. It's our energy that commands. It compels and commands a space as a gravitational pull that makes the world work in our favor
Yes.
so that we're elevated in our joy, because then we are giving and elevating that joy to everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really a matter of raising your standard. Yes, raising your rate, not entertaining jesters and clowns and jokesters,
Yeah.
like not entertaining that. I don't have time for that. We don't
It's
need to.
so
I'd rather
true.
be alone and on my own in my pleasure practice, doing my bubble baths with my girlfriends, serving clients,
Uh-huh.
than filling my time with all this mixed kind of energy.
Yes. Ladies, do not be filling your time with just that energy. Like, like it literally goes to the rate thing, right? When I raise my level and my rate, I only attract people that can pay my rate. When I
Right.
raise my level and my worthiness, I will only attract people who are worthy of my time and energy. Like, it's the same thing. I like how you just said that, because if
Yeah.
I know now that I only attract certain clients that can pay the rate, the number, and I don't accept any lower, like I really don't, I don't accept anything lower, then I only now attract people who can pay my rate. So if I up
Boom.
my worth, same
Yes.
thing, if I up my worth in the same way, I've been working through the mind of that, I'm only attracting, just like I have a good image of men from my father, right? I've always attracted great men. I've never
That's
been
right. You have
the
a great
dogs, and
baseline.
I have
Yep.
a great baseline. It was just more
Yep.
so I was still playing small within that parameter. So now it's working
Correct. You were
on,
still at a lower bar in that arena. And
yeah.
so, like what you're saying is great, because if you keep that standard, it becomes a filtration system. You don't need to think about it, ladies, of like, okay, well, is it him? Is it not him? Is it he's the guy? He's not. You won't even be in those damn conversations at all. It's like, fucking let the whole thing is like, is this my man? Go. Who cares? It doesn't matter if this is your man. What matters is, are you keeping your worth? Are they showing up and playing the game with you at a high level? Are you staying highly engaged and very lowly attached? Are you knowing that your goals, your dreams, and desires are going to manifest no matter what? And you're holding that frequency so the people can come in and come out who need to. But the ones that come in and stay are the ones that you're going to choose to invest more time and energy so the cream could rise to the top and they could reveal themselves to you. Let them reveal themselves.
That just happened.
Right? Let them reveal themselves to you. Get out of your freaking head.
Give it time, ladies.
Do not rush it. Do not rush.
Do not rush.
And that's the problem. So many women are rushing. We like in the world, like go, 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 go with our business and this. It's like, slow the fuck down, my loves, especially in the dating. You don't need to meet one guy and suddenly be like, this is my dude. He's everything. No, diversify. Just like you diversify your investments and you diversify your incomes, diversify your men. Keep it going. Let them come in, let them come out. Again, let them show you who you are. Do not clamp down your energy for one person. They've got to work for it. Men are creatures and hunters of habit. They need to hunt you. They need to feel the hunt. If you're easy, you're laying down, they feel all your energy coming into the basket, you're always available, it's going to be so lackluster. They need some challenge, and it's not about playing it. Yes, right? You did experience that.
I've experienced that. And I always felt like I had to give of myself sexually in some way to pull. That never kept anybody. Like
nobody.
It kept them around for that, but it didn't give me what the thing that I thought, right? I just had a weird thing from childhood.
Yeah, they just kind of hit it and quit it forever long as time they want to hit it, and then they quit it, and then they're out.
Disinterested. But like in this last person I was dealing with, I was like, I'm in no rush to share myself with you. And because of that, I got the space to see the person, and I got to practice being how I would want to be in relationship without being
exactly
know what my body can do. I was like, I don't need to give that no, you know what I mean? To feel the shift in that was like, that's such a huge thing for me. So it's like now I can already feel how, like now I've already aligned now to know, oh, I don't got to do that no more. Like I'm very, very clear.
Right.
I've been very clear about that for like the last year. So that feels good. Like now the new norm is, oh, I don't got to do that anymore. You're going to get to know me and I'm going to get to know you.
Correct. And without all the hormones and the chemicals and the response to oxytocin from the sexual experience. Now, it doesn't mean that you still may not have lovers or people that you're still exploring with. Like I'm an advocate for that. Like if you want to and you're still active, you can still have that while you're testing and dating other people to keep you clear of mind. So you have less of an emotional attachment, especially for women. I know it's a bit unorthodox in that approach, but that shit works like fucking catnip. I will tell you from experience, it works so good. And what you're saying is a good point, because again, so many women feel obligated, like they have to have sex right away or within the first or second or third date to keep the guy interested. And so that the guy knows. It's like, and I had actually a peyote ceremony many, many years ago where the whole purpose of my ceremony was me purging out and being with the part of me that always gave my body away to men. And I was considering like these beliefs and not even considering, I was clearing these beliefs around who am I without giving my sex away? Who am I without my sex? Who am I? And men only want me for my sex. And I was crying and snotting and like seeing how that's been used, of course, like we look at back in the day in tribal time and in tribalism, where women were using sex as a resource to secure safety or secure relationship with land. And so there is something where in our psyche as women, we've used in the hunting and gathering our own sexuality as a resource for safety with a partner, with land. We get that, right? But that's cave woman. We get to evolve out of that. And there should not be any kind of pressure on needing to sleep with someone early or get them to experience, you're straight up, all up inside of you, or having to give your pussy power away right away. You don't need to, right? Yeah. Learn how to actually rest in the part that's like, oh my gosh, like, is he still interested or is he not? Like, what do I need to give? It's like, that's your growth to start to sit back and lean back and observe and watch all of your own neuroses and your own fears and your own insecurities around your worth that you're attaching to the situation and the person. Again, how you're relating to him and how you're relating to yourself. And if you think giving sex away is the answer, it's not. It's not the answer. The answer is to hold it sacred. It's not to use it as a game. It's not to use it as a weapon. It's not to be like, you got to wait 20 days or 60 days or whatever. No, like really, I believe use it in the way that feels true and right. The way is to not rush it. And only you know what's true for you. But if you're using your sex as a way to keep a man, that's a form of manipulation, or to get a man or to keep him around. Honey, you got a lot of more work to do around that. And I love that you had that similar, and I believe it's a part of the feminine journey, right? Around our sexuality and our power, to understand, how to contain our sexual energy while still animating and expressing it, but we just hold it in a very different way.
Yes. Like I was still able to be sexy. I was still able to put on a sexy pajama set. I was still able to kiss in a passionate way and connect. And I didn't need to give of my body. And the
Yes.
person, I feel like they respected me even more. They wanted to show up even more for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yes.
we just got to be. Like there was
Yes.
nothing else pulling it, right? It was just us getting to
Yes.
know each other. So it's like I really do look forward to playing and doing more of that and just being. Like
Yeah.
it feels so much
Yeah.
different.
It feels different. I love that. And the more that you just continue to get those up levels, the more you're going to continue to attract the right partner for you. And I feel it coming in just like, it's just so close. It's just so close. It's just so close. And it's like each of these are opportunities to up level. So the more
Yeah.
that you're really being grateful, like you said, for these experiences and for the teachers that these, men are, or whoever you are dating, if you're a listener, like really don't be mad at the person. Be grateful for the person. Be grateful that they lied. Be grateful that they cheated. Be grateful that they withheld. Be grateful for whatever it is that they're giving you to show you that it was either one, not a match and you're still settling, so you can refine and define your attraction point. Two, that they're mirroring to you things that you still believe exist in partnership, or that you believe you still deserve to receive in a romantic partnership. And then refine that, act accordingly, do whatever internal work you need to do around that, and then again, go out to the dating world and try it again. And then it's again like sharpening your tools in the dojo. You'll get
Like
better
sharpening
and
the
better and
pencil.
better.
Yeah. That's
Uh-huh.
what I do.
Better and
After
better.
every relationship, I refine my vision list on what it is that I desire. I do that
Yes,
every
that's
time.
right. That's a part of the method.
So I
Yes.
get to go, oh, I really, really like this. I like this, and I want this, this, this. These are the things I would love in a partner. And then I can also figure out these are the things I have to have, right?
Yes.
Positive vibes, good energy, those are most important to me. Like, what's your
Yes.
mindset, right? Somebody asked me that the other day, and I was like, positive mindset, because a person with a positive mindset can always recalibrate. They can always
Mm-hmm.
get back. They can always build. They can always grow with a positive mindset. You can fall down, you can get back up. You can,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So that is super important to me. And then their energy. How do you show up in a room? You know what I mean? How do people
Yeah.
feel about you? And
Yeah.
I can say with the last person that I was talking to, nice guy, but I wanted somebody like I do want a man that like they beam in a room. You know what I mean? Like people, that feels good.
Right. Right. And that's a reflection for you, right?
It's a flex
Again,
for
that
me.
feminine energy, right? And we're
Yeah.
bringing it kind of full circle back of like that, like you said, like, what are you getting? It's like you being the goddess, like in all areas, you like being that bigger energy, you really expanding in that space. And so it's like, of course, being met by someone who's in that space
Yeah.
and, and relating to it now from like the feminine core of like what you desire versus like what you think you should settle on or what you should get or what's just safe,
Yeah.
that's
I've
a
done a
real
lot of
different
that.
way.
Did a lot of
Yes,
dating
not
like that.
not
What
anymore,
you say?
not anymore.
Yeah, you're not dating for safe no more.
Uh-huh. No more. No more. No more. Oh my goodness. It's been just so good talking about all this and being able to just be honest and open and real about it. And, you really are in your power about it. And it's like, the ebbs and flows of the journey in this conversation. It's just really highlighting the key pieces of like when you do the healing on yourself and the ancestral healing, whether it's your mother, whether it's your father, whether it's both, you're the one who gets healed. You're the one who gets liberated. It's not the thing you're looking at that needs to change. It's the way that you're looking at the thing that needs to change. It's your lens, your perception. So really do the atonement work to clear your lens of your perception so you can see differently and the thing can change. You know, really about the effective blaming. You can blame yourself, but you can also blame yourself for the amazing things that you've done. And when you do that ancestral clearing and healing work, it takes you back to your core. And when we restore that connection to our core, is when we can really be liberated from the constructs and the boxes that we put ourselves in. And therefore, we kind of, bash out of all those limitations and really get into a space of opportunity and limitlessness and to know ourselves in that way. So just celebrating and acknowledging you for all the work you've been doing. It's been so fun journeying with you and getting to see you rise and shine and grow and expand. It's just been so, so, so delightful. We'll do our golden goddess. Yes, honey. Yes, yes, yes.
Good.
So what a beautiful thing. And any little last, here we go, little pearl of wisdom you would like to leave or share with our audience from our part 2 session?
Yes. So part two's wisdom is if you have something with your parents, right? You know, you're holding on to some stuff. My prayer for you is that you see your parent as you, know that they've gone through what you've gone through, but even worse, even though your stuff may have been really, 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 really bad, there are so many gifts on the other side of it. And those things that you went through, you get to help somebody else that's gone through it. But you got to accept it first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't be a gift if you're still judging the gift. So be the gift by doing your own healing work, seeing yourself, have compassion for them, even if they don't have it for you, have it for yourself first so that you can give it to them. And have it for them because again, their shit was shitty. I also pray that we all really do fully realize how beautiful and loving we are. See the way you see children, see that inside of yourself. Have that same love. The way y'all get excited for dogs, get excited for yourselves like that. And just know that there's so much more available for you if you would just ask and speak into it. And so it is.
And so it is. Ashe. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, my goodness, this was so beautiful. I feel like I've had an orgasm, like I've snuggled, like I've showered, like I feel like I just feel all the things. I
All
feel
the things.
all the things right now. I'm like, and I feel
Workout.
so much love. It feels so good.
Yeah.
Feels so good. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I love you so much and I adore you so much. And again, thank you so much for the honor and the privilege to be able to be your coach and your guide and also your soul sister in this lifetime.
Definitely. Thank you for being my soul sister. I messaged you the other day going, I'm so glad I got women. Like the reason to do the work with my mom was to be able to have these types of relationships. And I would not have that without doing that work around my mom, like in just trusting in other women to be there for me. I had to trust. And so
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for being that space and holding space for me and allowing me to see myself and accept myself as I am. And then knowing that you are me and I am you. That's how we find each other. We're the same. You
We
know,
are the
we're
same.
the same.
Yeah.
So thank you
Yes.
for that. And anyone else out there who feels like what I shared today is you as well, you can find me at Nicole the Soul Coach on Instagram or Nicole the Pole. I'm available for one-on-one coaching, Reiki, Akashic Records, sound healing. I fly any and everywhere in the States, out the country, first class, business class. Okay. And I hold space and I make it fun. So if you're
Yes,
looking
you
for that,
do.
I'm your one-stop mind, body, and spirit shop, baby.
Yeah, baby. And we'll put all of that in the show notes so you can check her out and make sure, if anything, you take action and follow her on social media. And if you guys have loved this episode, please share it. Please like it. Please leave us a review. And that way we can make sure that others really hear this episode as well and get it out to their friends. So thanks for being in this community. Sending you all love from your pussy priestess. Bye.
Bye.